and welcome to today's Introduction to Document Management 101, brought to you by the Apex Alliance. Apex Alliance are a group of best-of-breed Microsoft Gold partners working together to deliver total digital transformation. We're made up of Intelogy, Preact, Total Enterprise Solutions, and Wellington. Intelogy is a Microsoft Gold certified partner with expertise in Office 365, SharePoint, and Nintex. Preact help businesses of all sizes maximize the value of Dynamics 365. Total Enterprise Solutions specializes in delivering Microsoft Dynamics Nav and Microsoft 365 Business Central information systems on-site or in the cloud. Wellington is the partner of choice for organizations looking to make a step change in their product and portfolio management maturity. I'm Robert Barth, and I'm the Information Management and Compliance Practice Lead at Intelogy. This webinar is to provide a brief overview of some of the core aspects of document management within SharePoint and Office 365. Your staff should not have to think about document management. Unless they are specialists in the field, managing documents and content is not what your staff are typically employed for. Whether frontline workers or back office staff, your employees just want to be able to get on with their day jobs. If your systems or processes slow down your team, then something is probably going wrong. That's not to say that document management shouldn't happen. It needs to happen. That's just to say that you need to carefully consider the tools you provide to your staff, how each tool is configured, and importantly, what purpose each tool has. Without any form of document or information management, you will quickly find yourself with a whole host of other issues. Not only will content be stored in ad hoc silos, or worse, printed and filed in numerous folders and drawers, but you will also find your team constantly reinventing processes and recreating collateral. And that's not even to mention the ever-present threat of legislation. How confident are you that your organization fully complies with the Data Protection Act? What about GDPR? Would you pass external audit? Let's face it, nobody wants to be threatened with a large fine. But the Information Commissioner's Office has become increasingly active. In January this year alone, 8 private sector UK companies were fined more than £1.5 million, with fines ranging from £1,000 up to £400,000. Effective document management provides the structure and classification to allow staff to work consistently and efficiently share knowledge, all while helping to improve your information governance and compliance. Experts in Intelogy's information management and compliance practice work with organizations of all shapes and sizes to understand their document management and team working needs. Each organization is different, has different needs, different processes, and different information management requirements. Our job is to set you up with team collaboration structures that support the way you work as an organization, trying to get the perfect balance between fast collaboration and structured governance. Often, the secret is to apply governance by stealth, providing rich spaces for teams to share and collaborate, with automatic classification of items in a contextual manner. Essentially, we are working to gauge where your organization is positioned so that we can recommend an appropriate balance between rapid team collaboration and information governance. So, how do staff store and share documents in your organization currently? Many of you will have file shares where the majority of your documents are stored. Some of you will already use SharePoint or another content management system. Others might have a combination of different systems which are used in different ways across different parts of your organization. Most organizations still use email as their primary content sharing tool. with multiple attachments being distributed throughout the organization, and normally outside of your organization too. These fill up vast amounts of storage space, making it very hard to be certain that you are looking at the correct version of the truth. How many of you have staff who regularly spend time searching for attachments in Outlook when it would be faster for them if they knew they could always find the latest version within your corporate content management system? Each of your organizations will be somewhere along this line, from completely inconsistent and uncontrolled, through to securely governed and compliant. Precisely where you are will depend upon how well you currently manage your documents. Many organizations are aiming to improve upon the quality and consistency of their content management practices. However, it's important to consider the potential impact on your staff time. We typically see a pattern like this. At the uncontrolled extreme, a complete absence of content management has a substantial impact on the consistency of approaches, collaboration, and information sharing. At this extreme, without any governance, content will often be hidden away in multiple silos, with limited information sharing. Frequently, organizations with limited content governance will see their staff spending significant amount of time reinventing the wheel. Without controls in place, the risk of sensitive information leaking outside your organization is also relatively high. At the other, fully controlled extreme, a rigid and tightly controlled solution has frequently resulted in large amounts of ongoing content classification and review. Worse, if systems are too complex or make information sharing too difficult, staff have a nasty habit of finding ways of bypassing the application altogether. They find easier ways to get on with their jobs. This often leads to content being stored on memory sticks and hard drives, or completely outside of your network altogether, in ungoverned cloud solutions such as personal OneDrive or Dropbox. There is, however, a sweet spot where compliance is balanced with usability. This seems to be very typically the goal of many of our clients. This pragmatic objective seems to be where most organizations are aspiring to get to. It provides a great balance of information management maturity without negatively impacting staff efficiency. For those of you using or considering SharePoint Server as the basis for your document management, it becomes a question of quite how far you extend the platform to meet your objectives. However, the story can quickly become more complex for those of you who are looking to use Office 365. SharePoint is just one of Office 365's excellent range of tools, which can be used to provide your staff with team working. If anything, Office 365 provides a few too many excellent tools. Alongside SharePoint, we have Exchange and Yammer and OneDrive and Groups, and there's Planner and StaffUp and Stream, and you get the idea. The whole experience can be really rather overwhelming for your staff. We see some organizations who have turned on all of the services only to see completely inconsistent usage and very confused staff. We find that if you release all of your Office 365 at once, at best you're likely to see multiple different ways of working across the organization. Although at worst, you're just probably going to end up with complete confusion. At Intelogy, we recommend carefully planning which parts of Office 365 work for your staff and avoid offering too many collaboration options. As you can see in this table, the tools provided within Office 365 can be useful in multiple business scenarios. Some tools are better than others at specific tasks, and there are no hard and fast rules that work for all companies. You should probably avoid releasing technology for the sake of it. We feel that it's best to ensure that you identify and communicate a clear purpose for each tool that you are providing to your staff. We recommend planning and executing a team working and governance strategy to oversee the launch and adoption of Office 365 services. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. Each organization needs a different mix of services, each with a defined role, so that your staff can clearly and simply understand which tools they use for different types of work. We help to analyze your organization's ways of working and compliance needs and define a tailored blend of collaboration tools that allow your staff to get on with their jobs. When it comes to long-term document storage, Office 365 provides three primary services we can make use of. OneDrive for Business provides a space for each member of your team to store their draft documents and personal content. We have worked with organizations to configure OneDrive so that it's used for its intended purpose, helping to prevent OneDrive becoming a shared storage space or even a team working space when it's really not designed for that. Teams are designed for rapid, lightweight collaboration. They provide a superb tool for organizations whose team working requirements exceed their compliance needs. We're currently working with one client to implement a Teams provisioning tool, which will oversee requests and approval of new teams, while also helping to control the life cycle of these workspaces. SharePoint Online provides the ideal tool for structured and governed content management. Our information management and compliance practice extends SharePoint in multiple ways, from automatic tagging to Azure-hosted site provisioning tools. So let's look at some of the core document management tools that are available and consider the ways that Intelogy could help your organization to more effectively manage your content within either SharePoint Server or Office 365. Content types allow you to separate different types of content by their intended purpose. They also allow you to have different metadata applied to different types of file. For example, if you know that you want an area that will only contain, say, CVs or invoices, then content types provide a reliable mechanism for allowing these documents to have their own relevant metadata applied to them. Content types need to be used a bit sparingly though. In the past, many organizations have defined extensive content type models, with dozens or even hundreds of content types being available for staff to select from. In our experience, times have changed. Large, clumsy content type models are being replaced with more pragmatic approaches. At Intelogy, we recommend defining standard content types for use across the majority of your content, and by and large only introducing custom content types if they are being used as the default for an entire library. For example, if you have a library that's specifically for storing those invoices, then it makes sense to apply an invoice content type as the default in that area. Each content type will have its own columns, which essentially allow you to classify content with metadata. Columns are great for allowing different types of metadata to be applied to different types of content. For example, we could ask for a job title when we're creating a CV, but we might not expect to have one on other types of content. You need to get the balance right. Too many columns and your staff will quickly become frustrated with the overhead of labeling all the content. However, insufficient metadata will make it much more difficult for your team to find content at a later date. As a rule of thumb, Intelogy recommends that you have a clear purpose for each column you add. Either you need the metadata to help comply with legislation, or the metadata is used to help your team to understand the content in the future. Typically less is more, and you should consider removing any metadata that doesn't have a clear purpose. Certainly the example document shown here has far too many metadata fields for any practical usage. To make life simple for your staff, Intelogy recommends that default metadata values are set wherever possible, especially for any mandatory columns. This should ideally be done contextually. For example, adding content into a finance library should automatically tag the items being related to finance. Controlling access to your site is essential for almost all organizations. Whether you want to ensure that content is easily shared or locked down, one of the core parts of any document management solution is to establish a permissions model that works well for you. At Intelogy, we explore the ways your organization works in order to put together an access control model that is tailored to meet your needs. The ideal is to only grant permissions where there is a genuine requirement for that level of control, reducing permissions to the minimum without creating additional complexity. When designing a secure access control model, there are a number of other things that we always consider. For example, it's important that each permission group has an appropriate owner. The owner is empowered to maintain the membership of the permissions group by adding or removing users. Some organizations want to control permissions centrally, others prefer to delegate control to approved users across different parts of the organization. You should also consider reducing the default permissions that are granted by the share button. Out of the box, it's far too easy to accidentally allow content to be modified or deleted by people you decide to share with. This is especially the case if you want to share with external users. Talking of which, we'd recommend carefully planning before deciding to share content with external users. You'll probably want to consider how you can lock down specific areas for sharing content externally. For example, do you want to have different areas for sharing with each of your external partners, or one larger sharing center? How can you ensure that confidential or internal-only content can't be shared accidentally? Intelogy can help answer these questions. Once we have a good understanding of the different types of content your organization uses and how you need to control access to different areas, we can start considering how your staff actually work. Understanding how your staff want to store and share content helps us to define an appropriate structure that will support your ways of working. We achieve this by identifying and assessing different types of users and establishing what each requires and desires from their content management system. This allows us to capture user need and define clear user journeys, helping to provide an intuitive navigation for staff to traverse their various workspaces. Essentially, we feel it's critical to ensure that content can be easily recovered and discovered by staff, whether they're using navigation or looking for the content in search. Our approach to document management also explores some of the other ways you might choose to work, including which devices do staff need to access content on? Do any of your team need access to their documents when they're outside of their office? Would you like your staff to be able to simultaneously edit the same document? How many previous versions of each document would you like to retain? Do some or all of your documents need to be approved when they are published? This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how to successfully implement a document management solution. For clients with more advanced needs, Intelogy extend these core document management approaches into complete solutions that make it easier to accommodate organizational change. Members of your team can request new workspaces such as projects or teams, which if approved are then automatically provisioned. The provisioning engine makes use of consistent workspace templates, with the end result being improved governance and compliance. This automated provisioning approach works like a cookie cutter, allowing different types of sites to be consistently created based upon templates that are designed specifically for your organization. As such, you could define one cookie cutter for your team sites and a different one for your committees, and yet another one for research and development, and so forth. Let's say you have a template, a cookie cutter for your project sites, and that template will ensure that each project that you create has consistent branding and permissions. It will automatically create the same consistent structure of starting libraries, folders, and even content if you need it to. For example, a project initiation document could be created by the provisioning engine with each new project that is created. Each project site could also have a consistent landing page containing various tools that you might need within that type of site. For example, your project sites could have a embedded Yammer feed or a calendar or international time zone clocks. It really depends how your staff intend to use this type of site. Importantly, the provisioning engine can ensure that only relevant content types and metadata are available within each type of site. This approach provides substantial benefits to most organizations. It encourages consistent working practices and reduces ongoing effort for both staff and IT. Essentially, this advanced provisioning model makes it very easy to automatically and consistently create new working areas. Finally, and very much a topic to discuss in more detail in a separate session, but we go even further by extending parts of SharePoint or Office 365 to become full electronic documents and records management solutions, EDRM. This means we provide systems which retain different types of content for different durations, allowing trivial content to be automatically deleted after a couple of years, while locking critical content so that it is retained and cannot be deleted for specific legal durations. For example, a document detailing exposure to asbestos needs to be retained for quite a long time, just in case someone comes back and says, I'm now getting breathing difficulties. It could be automatically stored as an immutable record for decades, while, let's say, some discarded project notes could be automatically deleted and disposed of within a couple of years. This allows you to be as compliant as possible with various bits of legislation that affect your organization, from the Data Protection Act to GDPR, while at the same time reduce useless data that's clogging up all of your storage. Hopefully this has provided you with an overview of how we can help your organization improve the way your staff work together, how we can work with you to establish a perfect balance between facilitating rapid ways of working and enforcing governed compliance. We can make your team working processes more efficient, breaking down information silos, helping your team share content, and allowing you to take your existing investment in SharePoint or Office 365 and tailor it so that it helps improve the way your organization operates. When adopted by your staff, these enhanced ways of working will lead to improvements in productivity and efficiency, and can also help improve your regulatory compliance. As such, Intelogy provide governance solutions which apply document management to your content, making it easy for your team to get on with their day jobs. Your staff won't have to think about the document management. So thank you all for attending today. Please don't hesitate to get in touch if you have any questions.